So I'm doing a walkthrough of this chaise lounge build. Um, it's done in the Helsing style, which is the style of furniture I did more consistently several years ago. Um, I designed and built myself. It's sort of Victorian Gothic design. Um, and right now I do like about one a year, which is it's a fun break from cabinets and all the other stuff. So yeah, we're gonna do a walkthrough. I'm gonna talk a little bit about the technical aspects of it, like the woodworking, the carpentry, and then I'm also gonna get into some of the creative, artistic side of the design and the inspiration. So yeah, let's go. This first process is making the legs. So it's gluing up the big stock blanks that we're gonna cut the legs out of. Just making sure the glue is evenly spread. Just getting a solid laminated, clamped up glue up. Just making sure everything's even and flush. Getting it into the glue up so I don't have to worry about like planing them, sanding them down later. Here I'm wrapping the stock for the legs in blue tape. So I do that, you're about to see, so I can trace the template for the leg onto the blank. It makes it, I think it's easier to see on the blue tape. Later in the process, we're going to have to tape all these back together when we go throw them through the bandsaw on the second cut. But we just got a clean outline for this leg. All right, now we're sending it through the bandsaw. I think I have a 14-inch jet bandsaw that handles those cuts really well. I've used it a lot over the years for this specific type of furniture, the Helsing style. So what we see here is the process of putting all the pieces that I just cut out of the first cut back together. So when you do these Queen Anne style legs, the idea is you put the template on one side, you send that through the bandsaw, you cut it, then you rotate it, and you mirror the template onto the other side of the 90 degrees. And then you send it through that way, so you get this three-dimensional shape. I don't understand the technical language of a lot of it, but that's the idea. You send it through one way, rotate it 90 degrees, tape it back together, send it through the other way. And there you can see how it's the side I already cut is on the left side now as I'm sending it through the second pass. It's kind of a workout sending these big blocks through the bandsaw. Like they're not lightweight. It's kind of an exhausting day. So this is removing all the tape from the cutout to reveal the leg. Yeah, it's pretty fun. It looks fucking bizarre when it comes out because the head, because you're cutting it on both sides, the head comes out with these strange extra points on it. And we'll get into that right after this, the process of removing that. So yeah, what I'm doing here is tracing, not even tracing, I'm just kind of freehanding where I want the hook to be on the crest. And okay, so I could have built a jig to hold that leg at the correct angle and send it through the bandsaw, and it would have just been two really clean straight cuts. I remember when I did this, I felt like kind of just getting into loosey-goosey no man's land. I wanted to kind of like freehand it and get sort of loosey-goosey with it. It was fun doing it that way. A lot of people freak out that I didn't build the correct jig and send it through, but it turned out totally fine. All the legs were symmetrical, and it was just a fun way to do it. It's kind of ghetto, using a multi-tool to carve furniture, but it worked. So here I'm cutting off those excess points that you get from the initial process of cutting it out of the bandsaw. Almost cut my cock off there. All right, so here's the rough cut. This is like the rough design that comes out, and you got to sand the shit out of it and all of that. This is basically what it looks like. you have like kind of a Queen Anne style base to the leg with some accents and points, and then this sort of like beaked talon thorn looking hook for like the handrest of the arm. Shit ton of hours spent on this machine. Oscillating spindle sander. I've used it so much on this style of furniture, sanding in all those turns and the little corners and the bellies and the bows. So this is now we're getting into the distressing up the pieces. There's a lot of different ways to do this. People will swear by their process, which is fine. To each their own. My process is I use chains and I beat the whole thing, and it gives you these really soft little dimples all the way up and down it. And then I also use a hammer, and then you'll see this board with the screws coming through it. I'll hit it with that to sort of mimic wormholes, just to give it that aged, distressed feel. Pokey pokey. So this is, we're cutting the pieces of the frame. So like the arch back and then the lower valance. Same process kind of as the legs. I have 1/4-inch plywood templates for these, and I kind of just mark them out. These are only on one piece. Obviously you don't cut them 90 degrees on each side, you know. So this is just about feeding it through the saw, sticking on the line, trying to keep it from shaking like a leaf there. Some of these corners are like a little too tight for the size of blade that I have in there, so you have to kind of make multiple cuts running in to clear out the excess pieces. You got to flip it, rotate it, come at it from a different angle. Again, we're back on the oscillating spindle sander. You can see like how easily this, I don't know how else you would sand this shit other than by hand. An amazing tool to have for this style of furniture. So much of this furniture is sanding, dude. Like, I don't know what the ratio of sanding to cutting is in carpentry, but it's more sanding than you would think. All right, so now we're cutting the tenons for the bottom valance. I'm going to keep using that word. I don't know if it's the right word, but I'm going to use it. So yeah, just marking them out with a combo square, speed square. Pretty straightforward. Here's the multi-tool again. I just know that there are gonna be some folks out there who, you know, sort of purists will wag their finger at how ghetto it is to use a multi-tool to cut tenons on furniture. But it works. It's fast, it's clean. If you've done it before, everybody has their own process, so fucking whatever. Yeah, I've done it this way a lot, and it works, so why not? And then using the bandsaw to cut the length of the tenon. It's a little easier on those long cuts. And now we're marking out the mortises onto the legs where the valance joins. Pretty straightforward. I use the multi-tool again here, just to sort of score all these lines the length of the tenon, and then we'll use a chisel to go in and pry them out. You could use a chisel for the whole thing. You could use an actual mortiser. There's different ways of doing this. Doesn't really matter. You wind up with the same thing. People will tell you it matters. They'll fight to the death over it. So yeah, we got a nice beefy tenon. Nice square hole for it to slide into. And yeah, it was a snug fit. It took a lot of hammering to get that test fit in there. And yeah, we just load it up with glue, clamp it, and we got the whole front arms and bottom rail. There you go. All right, now we're getting into the filigree. The filigree is mind-numbingly repetitive and just time-consuming. It's kind of the same process as the frame pieces and the legs. I have templates for each piece of filigree, and I just trace those out onto 5/16 stock, send them through the scroll saw. So that's what we're watching now. Cut them out, and then it's using the Dremel to add all of the details and the shadow lines and whatnot. I listen to a lot of Audible doing this, just because it's like pretty mindless. You're just following lines. Not a lot of thought that goes into it, so it's just hours and hours of this shit while listening to Audible. Yeah. And I don't really know. Filigree is strange. It's somewhere between feathers and flowers. Sounds like an Iron and Wine album. But there's like floral elements to it. There's sort of, I don't know. I've never quite been able to figure out exactly what it is. But it looks pretty. It has a natural sort of organic flow to it. And it just adds a lot of sort of organic beauty to a piece of furniture. This is the Dremel. Hours of this shit. Sitting at the table, carving all this stuff out. All right, so now we're getting into the joining of the frame pieces, which is, it's a lot of dowels. So as you can see there, that's a dowel jig, and we'll get into it more here, but it's just drilling holes where the frame is spliced, putting dowels in, and clamping and screwing that in the hidden part of the furniture, so obviously so you won't see the fasteners. So these are 1/4 inch dowels. Might be 3/16. I don't know. So yeah, everywhere there's a splice in the frame, or a joint in the frame, we do these dowels. It's such a quick and easy way to do. You could do mortise and tenon on these as well, but this is kind of the way I've always done it. It goes quick, it's strong. Never had any problems with anything cracking. And then we're just rounding over the edge of the frame here. So probably like a 1/4 inch or an 1/8 inch round over, probably 1/4 inch. You just go across the whole border, round over that edge, make it nice and soft. And then again with the chains, just beating the shit out of it, giving it that distressed vibe. So this video might be a little bit out of order. I've got the general frame assembled here. We're going to get into the building of the ribs here, like on the arms here in a second, but this is getting the back piece on, so the back is all put together. This was actually kind of a pain in the ass, getting the frame, because the legs curve out and the back curves back, but the legs also go out this way. It was a fucking nightmare, like cutting the ends of this back piece, like where they join the arms, at like a beveled scooping cut. It took a little bit of work, a lot of head scratching. Eventually I got really tight, nice cut that we glued the shit out of and put some dowels and screwed it in there. So it turned out great, but it took a while. All right, so this is the process of adding I call them ribs, because that's what they fucking look like. So run these all the way up the arms. It makes it super strong. These are glued in pocket, screwed together at 3/4 inch margins. So we run these all the way up. It provides a structure for the upholstery. And then we do these same vertical supports all the way across the back. I don't know why I said we. So yeah, we're running these vertical supports. Boring as fuck. A lot of Audible again. So then we add 1/4 inch strips of plywood on top of the ribs. Again, it just kind of like adds to the structural integrity of it. It just sort of braces it nicely, glues it all together, and then gives a nice flat, solid surface for the upholstery to go over and to be stapled to. And then, here we're fastening the filigree to the frame. There's a lot of carving in this one. I wanted to do all new floral filigree designs than I had done in the past. So it was a lot of figuring that out and sketching that and sort of working in and out of what would fit with the piece. It's this housing style has always kind of been in between a sort of Burton-esque, cartoonish Gothic feel with elements of like more traditional Victorian or even like Baroque style furniture. So this is just glue and pin nails to fasten these onto the frame. Works great. You don't see the pin nail holes after it's stained and clear coated. So alright, so this is like pretty much right before we get to staining and clear coating, so you kind of get an idea of what the piece looks like now. It looks kind of fucking cool. I kind of like the raw, unfinished look to it. As I was designing this piece, I went back through my Instagram stories as I was getting ready to record this video, and I wanted to like kind of remember what my headspace was like during the design and like the early stages of planning this piece. And I was listening to a lot of Slaughter to Prevail and Delta Hate, which are like some hardcore death metal bands. But I also was reading and listening to Dickens at the time, specifically David Copperfield. So I had these like, it's funny how it works out. It makes sense, but I had these like this like aggressive, hardcore, dark death metal just blasting in my ears all the time, and then I was also listening to these like Victorian era romance dramas. Which is kind of what this shit is. It's sort of a mix of like aggressive, evil, dark energy with like some traditional design elements and emotion to it. And I think that's kind of been the Helsing vibe for a long time. Has been sort of just like a mixing of my interests. Woodworking, like evil, dark, skater kid, death metal shit. And then also, you know, influences from like the classics. So yeah, it was fun to go back and see how I was like kind of in that space, and it wound up I think it wound up showing in the piece, which is fun. And this is the back, 1/4-inch back support. It's surprising how much like all these little plywood pieces and the ribs like fucking lock this piece up, because as you build it, you're like, oh, a little flimsy, right? And then by the time you're done like putting all the braces in and the bottom braces and the 1/4-inch plywood, like it's rock solid. Now we're staining. Not wearing a respirator because we're cool. And yeah, this is again the staining of the filigree specifically is just a knockdown, drag out, kill yourself, boring process, because there's so many little nooks and crannies. You have to go all at it this way and then go all at it this way and then up and down, and just making sure you didn't miss any spots, and then getting in there and wiping it all down is a chore. I like this piece. It looks it looks cool. All right, now we're clear coating. I've got a Kremlin 10-stage air assist pump, so it sprays a really nice coat. This is just polyurethane. I think I did a gloss finish, and then again having to go back through and sand all of the fucking like all the nooks and crannies and all of this floral stuff, and like trying to sand it lightly enough that it doesn't rub the stain off, but enough to where you're knocking down the scratchy dusties, so that you can get another coat on there, is tedious. Now we're doing upholstery. So this is a lot of just fairly dense upholstery foam, and I have the templates for the back that you see here, and I just, it's a lot of this furniture building is just templates and tracing to eliminate, you know, just to give yourself a smooth system that's reliable. Just cutting these upholstery panels out with big ass scissors. Upholstery is interesting. It feels really different from carpentry in that, I mean, your fucking material you're working with can wrinkle and stretch, which is just wildly different from woodworking. Hi, buddy. You want to come say hi? Walk, okay. to say hi. Oh my goodness. You say hi? I think boo boo. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, yeah, it's just different. Then yeah, so we take these panels and we mount them to the piece itself. Again, there's a lot of ways to upholster a couch. This is the way that I do it. It's not better or worse, just different. So yeah, I cut the panels out. I staple those to the frame itself, and then we cut the fabric out using the same templates we used for the panels. We cut it out wider so that we can roll it and tuck it. And this is a velour fabric, I believe. Black velour. So yeah, this part is tough. You're essentially stapling the fabric, like getting it all nice and tight, smoothing out any creases or wrinkles, and then running the border with this tack strip. In the traditional way, they used individual tacks, which, God. But these tack strips make it super easy to like run a whole bead of tacks without actually doing them all individually. So the angle of this game is just keeping that tack strip straight. You don't want any kinks, or like it's shiny, it's reflective, so it shows inconsistencies. So you just want to make sure all your curves are smooth and consistent. Same process for the arms, just rolling the foam on, covering it with the fabric, stapling it in place, and then running the tack strip over the border. The first few times I did this, I thought that I would never be able to do it well, but it just took practice. It's starting to look like a real Gothic piece of shit. Using a wildly aggressive knife to cut this 6-inch fabric, or 6-inch foam, wrapping it with the, what is that called? Batting? Just to sort of soften the corners of that big, dense upholstery foam. So I kind of fucked up and I didn't get footage for the rest of the build. So like putting the seat in, then I've got photos of the finished product that I'll probably intercut throughout this video and show you. So that's the build. It was a really fun one. It was super challenging. I remember spending a lot of nights laying in bed wondering, like not knowing how I was going to fix certain technical issues with it the next day, and then just kind of like working your way through it and figuring it out. You know, when you design it yourself, there's no like solid answers of like how you're going to fix problems. You kind of just have to figure it out, which is the fun of it. You know, it's very different from most of what I do is cabinetry, and it's, you know, right angles and building boxes, and they're simple solves to most of the problems. This kind of stuff where there's like no straight edge almost anywhere on the piece, and it's finding reference points to fix problems and make sure things are squares can be tough. Another fun part about this piece was that, so normally I ship them freight across the country to wherever they're going, and this one, me and my buddy Jordan actually drove it from here in Indiana to Delaware to deliver it. And we did this little, I think it was like, we did 2 days out, 2 days back. So it was like a little 4-day road trip, and we golfed every step of the way. It was a super fun trip. I got to meet the customers, which was fun. Yeah, so the piece, I just kind of like used it as like an opportunity to like do new shit and like have fun, travel, and challenge myself. I try to do these once a year, like some type of, usually it's a housing piece, but I try to do some type of challenging furniture style piece once a year, just to sort of clean the dust off and get into something creative and new. And I can always feel if it's been too long and I haven't got into that, I start feeling a certain way, and I know I need to get back into it. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the build and the walkthrough. If you have any questions about the technical process or the creative process, let me know in the comments. And if you're interested in having me make you a piece of furniture, shoot me a DM or an email. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know. I love doing this shit, and it's always fun doing something new. And custom furniture is very much that way. It's always fresh. It's always new. So if you're interested in a piece, let me know. If you have any questions about the processes, hit me up. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one.